An army of Patriot poll watchers has flooded the state of Virginia, all as the Democrat Terry McAuliffe's campaign is literally falling apart. In this video, we're going to take a look at the amazing success of what's being called the Patriot precinct strategy. We're going to see why excuses are already being made for McAuliffe's campaign implosion. And stick with me to the very end of this video and we'll find out who the real winner is no matter what happens tomorrow. You are not going to want to miss this. Greetings everyone, Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, before we begin, as you know, I recently retired from academia to go full-time here at Turley Talks, fighting for freedom and bring the good news of patriotic conservatism to people all over the world. But I need your support to help me keep going in the midst of constant threats from cancel culture. So my team and I created an amazing merch store with the best designs in the world, like our latest Let's Go branded t-shirts. We got some of the best Patriot gear where you could pick out something that spreads hope and supports my channel here at the exact same time. So make sure to click on that link below. Get your Patriot merch today. These designs are punchy, they're fun, they are awesome, they're in your face, but they will not stick around for long. So click on that link in the description below to both support me and spread Patriot hope, and I cannot thank you enough for it. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Look at this headline from the far-left activists disguised as journalists over at the Washington Post. An army of poll watchers, many driven by the GOP's election integrity push, turns out across Virginia. And here's how it starts. You're going to love this. Quote, Loudoun County General Registrar Judy Brown doesn't recall seeing many poll watchers during early voting this time last year. They usually turn up only on election day, primarily during presidential elections, and they also happen to be Democrats. But that's changed. This year, she said, we have had poll watchers here every day, all day long, watching the process of what's going on. And in a county that's been trending blue for years, more poll watchers are wearing Republican badges, Brown said, often outnumbering Democrats. Listen to this, 2-to-1 at each location. They observe the voter check-in and the ballot drop boxes. They've asked to observe election officers opening voting equipment. They watch as election officers report the vote tallies at the end of the night and ensure slates are blank when the polls open in the morning. This is just astonishing. According to the Washington Post, in Democratic counties, mind you, poll watchers are 2-to-1 Republican. Many of them are trained and organized by the Youngkin campaign and inspired by Steve Bannon's push to flood precincts throughout the nation with Patriot poll watchers. If you're not familiar with this strategy, it's really fascinating. What's going on here is we're seeing nothing less than a mass proliferation of patriots taking over local precinct levels. This is in no small part due to Steve Bannon's precinct strategy, which involves patriots across the nation signing up as precinct officers to oversee elections. And since Bannon's campaign, his announcement of his strategy several weeks back, upwards of nearly 10,000 patriots have signed up and taken over precincts, all but guaranteeing that the next elections are going to be governed at the grassroots level, at the local precinct level, by MAGA-loving patriots. It's absolutely huge. And the left is utterly panicked over this. They're panicked that patriots actually have the goal of effectively infiltrating, that's what they call it in their minds, patriots have infiltrated the American electoral system so as to secure election integrity. And the left is utterly horrified over all this. And you know what else the left is utterly horrified over? The polls! The opinion polls, the latest Fox 5 poll is Glenn Youngkin, the Republican, up by 5 points the day before the election, and the Real Clear Politics polling aggregate has Youngkin at a plus 1.7%. Dramatically different from where he was just days ago when he was significantly below the Democrat McAuliffe. As you may have guessed, McAuliffe really literally is falling apart today. You may have seen how over the weekend, the Lincoln Project, which the mainstream media continues to refer as a Republican organization. They're about as Republican as is Al Sharpton, for heaven's sakes. But they staged a race hoax over the weekend where they had actors posing as white supremacists with tiki torches at a Glenn Youngkin rally to evoke images of Charlottesville and to try to make Youngkin look racist. It was an epic fail. I mean, it was beyond embarrassing and completely cringeworthy, but it's all par for the course for the McAuliffe campaign that is literally imploding as we speak. And this is largely, at least in part, I should say, due to something called a refractory period that all political dynamics experience at some point in time. For example, one of the reasons why the president's party tends to lose seats in the midterms is because the midterms take place during what's called a refractory period in the election cycle. And a refractory period, simply put, is a period of time after a massive surge in political or national enthusiasm that's characterized by a then noticeable dissipation in that enthusiasm. So what scholars have noticed is that it's very, very difficult to maintain the level of political enthusiasm needed to win an election. It seems to be a relatively consistent pattern that after a massive surge of enthusiasm, no similar mass enthusiasm can be generated for a considerable period of time afterwards, perhaps as long as several years later. There's basically a social exhaustion where the fervency and the distraction of a political event get to a point where people, in a sense, they have to get back to their lives and their responsibilities, and they just simply don't have the will or the energy or the time to continue to give of themselves in terms of their time or attention or even finances. They just run out of the social resources needed to sustain the extraordinary level of mass political enthusiasm to win an election. Now, this is what's known as the refractory period, and this to a large extent explains why the party that won the presidency doesn't have the social resources to go on to win the midterms a couple of years later. Can you imagine what the refractory period would be like if Democrats were not particularly excited or enthusiastic about their candidate last year and have become even more disappointed and disillusioned since the election? Well, that appears to be exactly what we're seeing here. In the latest national NBC poll, Biden and the Democrats are in a free fall when it comes to issues such as border security, where Republicans are plus 27, inflation, where Republicans are plus 24, crime, Republicans are polling plus 22, national security, Republicans are plus 21, the economy, Republicans are plus 18. We're seeing something almost exactly the same thing in Virginia. In the latest Fox poll, Youngkin is 11, plus 11 on the economy, plus 8 on education, plus 12 on crime, even plus 1 on COVID. So Democrats are facing a nightmare scenario here with tomorrow's gubernatorial election. But it gets even worse for them, and they are admitting it. No matter what the outcome tomorrow, someone has already won in all this. Can you guess who? Well, before you do, make sure to click on that link below and register for our Patriot Live virtual event, November 12th and 13th, where I and several guests will show you how to lead your family to freedom without sacrificing your beliefs, values, or your God-given rights. If you click on that link below right now, you're going to get 40% off your tickets, but that offer expires this week, so don't wait. Click on the link below to find out more and get 40% off tickets now, and I'll see you for a virtual weekend that you'll never forget. All right, gang, leftists are admitting, I kid you not, they're admitting that no matter what the outcome tomorrow, Donald J. Trump will be the ultimate winner. We have to remember it was Trump himself who originated the Patriot precinct strategy in one of the debates with bumbling Biden. He said, quote, "I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully because that's what has to happen. I'm urging them to do it. Today, there was a big problem in Philadelphia. They went in to watch. They're called poll watchers. Very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia." So Trump was instrumental in getting patriots to volunteer to become poll watchers all across the nation. And if Youngkin wins, it's going to be largely because of the efforts like these to galvanize patriots on behalf of election integrity. But if Youngkin loses, leftists admit it's going to be blamed ultimately on what? Of course, shenanigans at the polls, or what the left calls the big lie. Either way, Trump comes out on top. He comes out on top either as the one who warned us about the shenanigans or as the one who saved the day with patriot turnout and mobilization. So as we close this out, it's important to note that anything could happen tomorrow, right? It could be that some of the bluer counties come out en masse and give McAuliffe the win, right? That certainly can happen. But it could also be the case that more Republicans and independents come together and give Youngkin a bigger win than anyone ever imagined just weeks ago. Either way, we'll certainly keep our eyes on how things turn out, and either way, whether Youngkin wins or loses. It does appear that President Trump will turn out to be the real winner of the night. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments section below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as well, and make sure to check out my latest video on how the Democrats are horrified that what they call the Trump coup has become a runaway train. You are not going to want to miss this, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.